It has been rumoured that in a secret conversation with his Open rival Cameron Smith, Rory McIlroy had more than a few words for world number 2. Did this have anything to do with Smith's victory at St Andrews, or changing PGA for LIV? What specifically occurred during that call then, and why won't he talk about it? Join us as we discuss the details of the shocking conversation between Rory McIlroy and Cameron Smith. Smith won the coveted Claret Jug at the 150th Open event at St Andrews last month by defeating McIlroy. The Australian superstar was then confronted with an irate follow-up query regarding whether or not he will play LIV golf with fellow Australian Greg Norman. He swiftly sidestepped the subject though. After the recent Gulf Civil War, Smith's links to the circuit, which is supported by Saudi Arabia, have only become stronger. McIlroy, the 4-time major champion and Smith's adversary, contacted Cam Smith to inquire about the latter's controversial decision. Rory McIlroy disclosed during the Open Championship that he and Australian opponent Cameron Smith had a video call to discuss Smith's choice to play LIV golf. But is the Brisbane-born 29-year-old aware of PGA Tour plans? 2 days after the Open, McIlroy had the opportunity to chat with Cameron Smith. I wanted to congratulate him first and foremost, but I also wanted people to make an educated decision and know what's in store for them. McIlroy said, "Perhaps this is the legacy you will leave. For as long as I can remember, I have believed that everybody has the right to do as they please. Within their own homes, they are free to make decisions they deem appropriate. However, I value it when they seriously consider potential consequences before acting." According to the adage, they probably didn't make those decisions with all the facts in front of them. Prior to this week's Tour Championship, the final PGA Tour tournament where the Northern Irishman will try to win the FedEx Cup for a record 3rd time, McIlroy made certain comments. The Northern Irishman was open about his cordial relationship with Tiger Woods, the golfing legend, as well as Woods' impact on his career. But shortly after Cameron Smith's Open victory, we learned that a switch to LIV was becoming even more likely. Rory McIlroy reportedly called him to convince him to stay in the PGA rather than transition to LIV golf. The Australian player claimed that he had trouble resting the night before the move because McIlroy wanted him to know a lot of what was going on. The Sydney Morning Herald reported that Cameron said, "I've always had respect for Rory, and I've loved what he says on a golf course. He was happy that I did well and that the event went well, so he said, congratulations." There were probably a few subtle jabs in there too. Following that, we spoke about PGA Tour and LIV. He demanded that I learn a great deal more about my options before making a final decision. Not that he tried to, but he certainly wanted me to remain. In the 4 months following Smith and McIlroy's Claret Jug showdown at St Andrews, whispers began to circulate that the Australian, who had been firmly affixed to the group all summer, may move to LIV. But it took weeks of heated rumours, awkward hints, and about 5 LIV golf invites before Smith finally decided to change. Not before he earned $2.5 million from winning the Claret Jug. The winner of the 150th Open is now speaking out about the challenges he faced in making his decision after conversing with his outstanding rival. The league's connections to Australia were a major factor in his decision to join the Greg Norman-led series. This comes after it was reported that the Grange in Adelaide would be one of 14 destinations for LIV's redesigned 2023 calendar. The question of whether Norman should remain the CEO of LIV Golf has received a lot of attention lately. For the past 2 weeks, McIlroy has insisted that Norman should resign from the Saudi Arabia-backed company if there is to be any possibility of retaining the stars. Woods joined the fray, echoing McIlroy and others' calls for Norman to resign in light of this week's events in the Bahamas. The superstars who joined Norman's team, despite the astronomical amount on their chests, will probably have to defend their decision. But Cameron Smith does not share the sentiment. Smith, the second-ranked player in the world, lauded him and said he believes in what he does. Adding fuel to the fire, Greg Norman reportedly said that LIV Golf has no interest in a truce with the PGA Tour. According to articles for the Sydney Morning Herald, Greg's abruptness may come from his passion for the subject at hand and his desire to avoid wasting anyone's time. He added, "In a city like Miami, I can't see it failing. An incredible number of people showed up in Miami, creating a fantastic atmosphere. There have been several interactions between us over the course of the last 4 or 5 tournaments, and he has always praised the quality of the product. They've taken a unique approach to golf, but they're certain that it will be successful." Norman started the Adelaide event at the beginning of November as a message. The only snag is that the leading figures in golf aren't convinced by Norman, and their mistrust intensifies daily. The Australian Open will make history by including both men and women in the competition next week. Even if it will be too tough to ignore the live performance once more in the wake of Wood's remarks. Adam Scott has been at the centre of it for the better part of a year, expressing interest in LIV, attending a players-only meeting to help the PGA Tour combat LIV, and generally keeping everyone guessing. It was brought up when Adam Scott was interviewed, but here's what Greg Norman had to say on Adam Scott. Adam has been one of the best players in the world in the last 20 years, and I just think it's extremely weird for the PGA Tour to not have an event in Australia just because of him. Although the Australian public appears to like it, I don't think they're earning enough money out of it to justify their engagement. They could have assisted so many other individuals, including Jason Day and Mark Leishman. Believe it or not, that statement is true. Adam Scott replies, in the near future, he has no plans to leave his current post. He is a man with strong beliefs. Although Greg may come across as abrupt, he always aims to be upfront about his positions. Tiger and Rory's testimony and other facts seem to support this. Scott added, well, I can't say if the PGA Tour and LIV's respective priorities will be in sync or not. I believe they should focus on what they can control and have faith in the outcome as far as the game is concerned. I don't believe it makes a difference whether they're together or not. It's a huge departure from the norm, but I'm certain that the game's best interest will ultimately prevail. Mark Leishman, Smith's teammate at LIV Golf, is not the kind to make sweeping claims, and the criticism from multiple elite players against LIV is still going strong. According to sources, Billy Horschel has offered a deal worth $55 million to the Saudi-backed circuit, LIV Golf. In a particular tweet, Phil Mickelson fully endorsed the move, but it turned out that PGA rivals had turned down the $55 million deal at the start of the year, which Phil Mickelson did not fail to alert the public to in a series of sponsored tweets. In a recent podcast, renowned coach Hank Haney alleged that a player had offered a sizable sum of money for him to publicly criticise the Saudi-backed series and to argue for the inclusion of LIV players in PGA and DP World tournaments. He requested his 15,000 followers on his well-known Twitter account to make a guess as to who it was. Many people believed Phil Mickelson to be the villain here, but he has tweeted against the idea. That means it's highly improbable, right? Your guess is as good as mine. In this year's press conferences, he has been one of the most vocal opponents of LIV, partly because of his unwavering devotion to the PGA Tour. At the Scottish Open in July, a PGA Circuit 7-time champion made a statement. It is absurd to say that they also wanted to sponsor LIV's tour, whether it's the DP or PGA Tour. This is due to the fact that after reducing their tournament calendar from 15 to 14, they will need to compete in 29 tournaments a year to maintain their PGA Tour cards. They were discovered in their own dishonesty. It seems like it's what they want. As a professional golfer, at the very least, your silence and respect will be greatly valued. However, the truth of whoever performed that role will eventually resurface. But it begs the question, will PGA survive? Thanks for watching this video. Do you think Smith should move to LIV? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more amazing content. See you on the next one. Until then, goodbye.